Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology, creator of the Salesology prospecting method, and I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. So today, my very special guest is Melissa Palmer, and she is a sales manager with LS Industries. I love this. Melissa started her sales career by accident, as did I. She started her sales career by accident, but she learned that she really enjoyed connecting a customer with a solution and helping solve their problems and protect their interest. And Melissa is very good at building lasting relationships because her intention is always honest. And I think we're going to need to talk about that. That's really wonderful. Melissa soon learned that the best way to protect the customer is also to protect the company that she represents. So there has to be a win-win scenario, or nobody really wins in the long run. And she feels that in management, she's able to do the greatest good because she works with a sales team to do just that. And she focuses on creating winning solutions for everybody. And Melissa is also very energetic. And energy is contagious. So welcome, energetic Melissa.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. It's exciting to get together finally.
Yes, absolutely. So let's begin at the beginning. How did you end up at LS Industries? How did you end up in sales? Tell us your story.
Sales kind of began by accident and very particular to manufacturing as well, simply because I was a student paying my way through college for elementary education, no relation whatsoever. And I went to a temp service and I was one of the only few people to pass the tape measure test, right? So where to place me? Manufacturing. So I end up in manufacturing.
Wait, I have to stop you. What's the tape measure test?
It's a tape measure test. So basically, can you read a tape measure? They actually give you your old mathematic test that you did in school, you know? It's basically just, can you count? That's pretty much what it is, you know? They show you different spaces on the tape measure and you have to identify what that represents. And I thought everybody knew how to do that, right? Everybody could do that. Everybody does that. I took tests on this at school, right? So I was baffled, young at, 19, 20, and I entered into the manufacturing world. And I started on the manufacturing floor, so in a production environment as an expediter, and just kind of worked my way up. And slowly but surely, they moved me into an office position. And from there, it's just a world of changes opened the door. And I quickly learned that I could make a lot more money in the manufacturing world than I could ever being an elementary teacher. And so I stuck around and developed my skills in management and supervising and things like that, and kind of just moved around in that company. I grew old with the company, I say, because my first job, and I stayed there, first real job. And I stayed there for over 20 years. And during that time, they found that my interactions with customers always went really well. And so they shifted me into a customer service position at first. And I did that for quite some time and developed really strong relationships. And then outside of that, they offered me a sales position and I took it, loved it, really grew into the position. And from that moved into the managing side of things and managed a team there. And then as the company grew, the positions changed around a little bit, and I ended up being placed in more of the technical side of things to in departments that were failing, basically. And for a little bit, I got out of the sales world, and then I ended up at LS because I wanted to get back in to the sales world. And I wanted to do it with a fresh start, something new. Because I had grown up with that first company and worked so many different positions for so long, I was the fixer, right? They loved to place me in any department that needed fixed because I was the keeper of the secrets. I knew so much history about what worked and what didn't work and what we've tried and didn't try. Um, and so I never could really just do what I wanted to do. I was kind of stuck doing what they really needed me to do at the time. And so I finally just said, okay, I gotta start fresh. And with that, I started LS, and I was here 6 months just as a sales team member. We lost the sales manager, and immediately being even the new person on the job, I'd already brought so many ideas to the table on things that I thought we could really enhance our sales team here and grow. And so they offered me the position as manager. So it's just been growing since.
And the rest is history,
The rest
right?
is history. The rest is history.
Okay. So I'm curious, because as you were telling your story, you said that in that very first job, like right at the beginning, the interactions with customers always went really well, which
Yeah.
is why they eventually moved you into customer service and so on. So, to what do you attribute that?
So probably from even elementary school age, right? I was kind of an always top seller. I'm very competitive. I like to do things well. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it well. And so, like, jump rope for heart, all those little fundraiser things that you had to do as a kid, I was number one every single time. Every single time I'd go knocking on every single door. I'd walk the streets for hours. I just didn't stop until I was at the top. And one of those things was just learning how to interact with people and really communicating well and listening and trying to, educate them on why you're there to begin with.
And so, did you sell Girl Scout cookies? Did you gain your education selling Girl Scout cookies?
No, but I feel like a lot of people in sales probably start there. But no, it was always the fundraising type of thing, when they got you out there doing for good causes and stuff, and you're trying to win the little prizes, little trinkets that are worth nothing, right? But to say, oh, I won this. I worked really hard for this $5 thing. But
Absolutely. But also, you kind of have to believe in the cause. I
you
mean,
yeah. Well, and there was always a good cause, right? There was always something, heart health or something, special needs children. There was always something that, it's like, oh, that's a good reason to go out and make money.
absolutely. So, I want to ask you because one of the questions that I asked you in preparation for this interview was a win that you and your sales team have had in the past year. And
Yeah.
the answer you gave me, you said the biggest win is getting the entire sales team telling the same story, all on the same page with the same messaging. Uh, that's pretty remarkable because I know how very difficult it is to
Yeah.
get everybody on the same page telling the same story. It is really hard. So, walk us through how you did that.
It's probably a very unique situation, I think, because at the time that I took over as manager, we were losing a lot of people that had been with the company for a long time. So a lot of you know uh, contamination there. It's not really contamination, right? But people have been in a place for so long, they kind of get complacent. They start to forget why they started doing this to begin with. And so that gave me a real strong opportunity to start fresh. And so from day one of bringing people in here, you know, everybody's kind of in the management team here is talking the same language from the owner down, who is boots on ground every day. He used to run the sales department. It is a second generation family owned company. So he grew up here and he believes why we're all here, right? He believes the message as well. So as I started learning what the company was all about and why we were all here, I became a believer. And definitely that was one thing during all the interview processes, during, every time I interacted with the staff, communicating that again and helping them understand what we're all doing here and what the ultimate goals are. And that it is about the customer and about the company, and it's not about self-fulfillment, and that's always a hard thing, right? But luckily during that interview process, I just good hiring, we've been really lucky with the people that we have brought in, and they're all just excited. And once they start seeing the results of that, once they start doing what we're asking and feeling the reward that comes from that, as far as the strong relationships and the happy customers and the money, of course, that comes along with that too, they were very quick to jump on board.
And that's really interesting. I want to ask you uh, actually two questions. First of all, why do you think it's important and necessary for everyone to be on message? And I'm curious what you do if somebody is not on message.
Well, I think to be on message is really important, because that it's so important in sales and good relationships in sales to set clear expectations with the customer. That is the number one way to maintain that process throughout, and to not have an angry customer at the end if something goes wrong, right? And it's clear expectations and setting those right out of the gate. And so I think that has been just number one. Just make sure that we're setting clear expectations and being able to manage that process. And immediately they can see the results of that. Even when things don't go exactly as we plan and something happens and comes up, if they've set those expectations at the beginning, you end up with a lot less angry customer at the end as you're working through those situations. And so it's just kind of organically, everything has happened if you start with that. And then I don't even remember the rest of that question.
Oh, the other half, yeah, you're right. I should never ask
I'm
two
a rant.
questions at once. The other half of the question was, what do you do if you've got somebody that is not on message?
Yes, absolutely. So, we try to correct and retrain, right? You try to invest the time in them and helping them understand why that is important. And it's really, we're in a unique position too, where, like I said, the owner is here, so he can they see he's delivering the same message. They know what the message that they're giving. Everybody here has their back on that, so they don't have to worry about there being any conflict later, and nobody backing them up at the end. And that feels good at the end of the day. And so I think a lot of times we just retrain and we refocus and we re-educate and we go through the process again on why this is important. But a lot of times they see it, because I'll jump on calls with them early on if something seems like it's going sideways, or I'll get involved a lot early in the process, and they watch me and my interaction with the customer, and they see the results of that immediately on how that changes the outcome, whereas they may be getting yelled at, or they may be, and then if they handle it the way that I'm suggesting, the whole conversation changes and the results are different at the end. And the minute they kind of see that, they're really pretty eager to jump on board and be like, okay, this seems much more manageable than the guy that was just yelling at me and I didn't know what to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah. So that kind of leads me to one of the other things that I asked you in preparation for this interview, because I asked you what drives you crazy about managing a sales team. And you said, what drives me crazy is when the sales team shies away from delivering bad news or
Yeah.
unwillingness to explain to a customer the request is not reasonable, or they wait too long to bring you in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And I think that's uh I don't know, salespeople go in one of two ways. They either say no too quickly, like, no, we can't do that when it actually might be something that you could do, or they
Yes.
just say yes.
That's the problem that we have more than anything is they just say yes. They want to ultimately you want to be the advocate, right? And I think that's where a lot of salespeople get confused. Because what a customer is asking at that moment is not always what they need. So in a situation where say they're pushing you on a timeline that is not really achievable while maintaining quality, ultimately nobody wants it fast if they don't have if it's not right. That's not, you're not protecting their goal by getting it to them faster if it's not going to be right. That's not helpful for them. So really trying to keep in focus on what is the number one goal here. What do we really want to happen here? Does time matter? Absolutely, time matters, but does it matter more than a quality product that they're going to be able to get their ROI on and actually see materialize in a tangible way? No. So, just trying to make sure that, hey, as we're talking about these conversations, these hard conversations, which is often usually time in the world of manufacturing anyway, and just frustration or wanting it something that is completely out of our control. A lot of the stuff that we do here is very complex custom units that require a lot of engineering and a lot of custom pieces and parts that are tooled and machined and brought in, that are not necessarily, we are not tool makers here. So we rely on vendors just like they rely on us. And there's a lot of contributing factors. And so sometimes the waters get a little muddy. And just keeping them refocused on why we're here. And ultimately, we're trying to deliver a product that's going to make them money and not cost them money in the long run. And every salesperson wants to say yes. They want you to just be happy. They want smiles all the time. It's never fun if you're frustrated with them. But I like to tell my salespeople all the time, it's one thing if you keep that relationship, right? What's going to keep that relationship is for them to be able to trust you. It doesn't matter if they like you. It matters if they trust you. So they may like you at the end of the day, but if they don't trust the company that you're representing, and if they don't trust the outcome that you can deliver, it doesn't matter if they like you. They're not going to call you again for repeat business. They might call you to say, hey, Merry Christmas, but I'm not going to call you and keep ordering supplies from you or anything that I need, because I've got to be able to back this up with my supervisor, with my manager on the other end, and answer for it. And so in the end, it's always much more important to be trusted than to be liked. And that maintains relationships, whether they like you or not. If they realize that you are looking out for their best interest and you're going to be there to back it up and to take care of it, then that's going to end up in repeat sales, like or not like. They're going to have no choice but to call you. They may go, oh, I don't want to call them, but they're going to call you if they can trust you.
I like that a lot, because I think that is something that some salespeople confuse. It's not LS Best Friends Club. It's
Exactly.
LS Industries.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of salespeople, they kind of think they're making friends. It's good to make friends,
It is
but
good.
that's not the first thing.
Yeah, that is not the first thing. And it's important. I have a lot of friends that are people that I have sold to over the years, that have gone on and lasted 20 plus years. I mean, just long past the time of doing business. We're still in contact. We are still very friendly, but it all boils down to, it wasn't always easy. There were hard conversations during some of those times where you didn't feel friendly. Definitely there was some, temperatures sometimes rise, but in the end, it always works out, because you know that you're on the same side, you're working towards the same goal.
So I'm curious about the makeup of your team. How many people are you managing right now? And also, are they hunters? Are they farmers? Are they hunters and farmers? Or you don't think of it that way?
No, I do think of it that way actually. And so currently we have 12, and that includes our international team, which is actually stationed in Mexico, our e-commerce side of the business that does nothing but online, like Amazon, eBay, and then very distinctive people that do kind of very distinctive product lines, as well as just general sales members, and then our parts team.
And so the various teams that are doing different product lines, they are both hunters and farmers.
So most everybody right now is a hunter. We do have a couple of farmers, but kind of in our environment, we've started weeding them out more than anything. It's very important, I think, for our team to take ownership and almost act as entrepreneurs, to really own that process in the performance. And a lot of times with farmers, like my parts team is farmers, they're there just to keep the peace, to make happy. They're answering incoming calls. They are upselling them and things like that during incoming calls, but they're not doing a lot of outreach. It's all coming to them organically more than anything. But for everybody else, a large percentage of it, you've got to be hunting. You got to be constantly challenging and looking for new business. We handle a lot of that on the marketing side as well, and just trying to get their name out there. But we encourage everybody strongly. Social media, LinkedIn, that's been a huge thing for us. Just looking for different avenues in ways to reach the end users.
All right. And actually, interestingly, before I even hit record to start this interview, you told me that things were like really crazy now because the company is really, 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 really growing
Yes, yes.
because of your hunters.
Yes, that's exactly. And that's where we're at right now. We want to be in growth mode, right? And so that's where, as we keep adding staff, and that's one of the things that we are looking for, is we're looking for those people that are hunters. And some of them, quite frankly, that I've had on this, like one member that we had on the team, he started on our shop floor. He was a welder out in the factory, and he got stuck next to me on a plane one day coming back from a customer, and he was telling me about his outside stuff that he does outside to make money, right? And he's looking for ways to grow, and he was just hungry. He was hungry, and he hustles, like he busts butt all the time, right? He is constantly pounding pavement. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I was like, you know what, I just lost somebody in sales. What do you think about joining the sales team? And I've now pulled two people actually off our shop floor, and taken them into some of our best salespeople. I mean, they have really just grown into the position. And we did a lot of mentoring at the beginning, a lot of shadowing and calls together. And there was some hand holding there at the beginning, but I mean, they are skyrocketing compared to some of the other people that have been in sales for quite some time.
When you're hungry, it makes a difference.
It makes a difference. That it does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they're young, and well, one of them's pretty young, and he's starting a family, and he's looking for growth. He wants to provide for that family, and that's an important need. You got to have a need to win.
yeah, you need to have a why.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears completely for a moment because this is something I was so curious about. I did also ask you um, to share some things that you and your team are working on, and
Yes.
you're working on getting them to use the CRM.
Yes.
And I mean, this seems to be a universal
Right?
challenge.
Always.
And so I'm wondering what your miracle cure is.
I don't have one. That's what, you know what, we do as much integration as possible, right? Try to make it as easy as possible. And use it as in a minimal state, right? Try to not overcomplicate the process as well. Because sometimes I think we get lost in just the overall task of managing the CRM, that then nobody does it because it's too cumbersome and it takes too long, and nobody has that time. Nobody wants to spend their time documenting all day long. So we do have autosave on things like certain communications. So and we really try to just track the bare minimum. But that task management, being able to set those reoccurring tasks and those reminders and things like that, that has proven time and time again to save relationships. Because in the end, it becomes too overwhelmed. There's too many people. You can't possibly remember every little thing when you have so many conversations throughout the day. And so documentation is key. And we have to have often reminders about why that is important. And we're still working on it.
Yeah. I personally have lost opportunities because I did not document.
Me
Um,
too. Me too.
but I think everybody has done that. But if you do it once or twice, you kind of learn and you start documenting.
Yes, the first manager that ever really pushed that, first CEO that came in and pushed that in my last role, I was one of the naysayers at first. I was like, this is a waste of my time. Like I'm not getting the stuff I need to get done because I'm too worried about, and it was because we were over documenting. There was way too much involved and it was taking way too much of the day, and you kind of lose sight of why you're really doing it. So I do think it's important to keep it to a reasonable amount and not to get too crazy about it. But yes, it's saved my butt on more than one occasion. And now I'm a strong believer. Like, it's once you see the benefits, it's like, okay, you can have more educated customer conversations. You're not repeating yourself over and over because you can't remember what you talked about 3 months ago. I mean, it just makes sense.
Absolutely. So you're a convert.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I'm like the extremist. Like, I'm like, I can't live without it. Like, it's a need for me to be successful. Like, I recognize that and I'm a strong believer in it. And yes, I think it's all trial and error though, right? You have to go through those bad times, those periods where you've screwed up and not done your due diligence and documentation, and it's bit you in the butt to learn your lesson and become a believer.
Yeah, it's funny. I fairly frequently have prospects or clients say to me, oh, Wendy, you're so organized, you're so on top
Yeah.
of things. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I have CRM.
Yes, but it goes back to that whole trust thing. It's
Yeah.
of trust when exactly they need you to be organized. They need you to remember these things and to not have to. Nobody wants to repeat their needs again and again and again. That's frustrating. It's frustrating for me as a consumer. Like, why weren't you listening the first time? Like, what?
Right, exactly.
But I'm the buyer. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to keep doing it. So you have to think about, how do you like to shop too? How do you want to be on the other end of that conversation?
Yeah. It's very, very interesting. Well, I applaud you for getting them to try to use the CRM and love to check in with you in about 6 months and hear how you're doing.
Yep, yep. I think for the most part, I think we're headed in the right direction. That's for sure. But they openly admit too they need to work on it a little bit more sometimes. So, but I check in and I can run reports and see what the activities and stuff that are happening in there. So I try to. I don't like to babysit. I'm not here to be hall monitor by any means. We're all adults. But I trust but verify, right? You trust the process, you verify the process, you then retrain on the process when needed. That's always important. You can't just leave it ignored. If it's something that you want it to be a priority, you also have to make it a priority.
Agreed. Agreed. So this has been a great conversation, Melissa. If people want to reach out to you, what is the best way for them to do that? We have your website, which we will put in the show notes. We do have your LinkedIn profile, which, by the way, Melissa and I met on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with Melissa, you can go to the show notes after you finish listening to this podcast and connect with Melissa. Any other way that people might reach you?
Yeah, no, well, my cell phone is always public. I live and breathe by the phone, right? Call on cell phone all the time. We all have cell phones here, pretty much because we are a kind of the smaller company in growth, family owned. We live and breathe by the phone, right? Which is nice as a salesperson, for the simple fact that if I do have a customer in need after hours, we always answer our phones. We answer the phones. The owner answers his phone. The supporting staff answers their phones, and we know because nobody's going to be calling unless it means something, right? Unless it's needed. No one likes to pick up the phone after hours and give you a ring. And so they don't do it unless there's a reason to. So we always answer our phones. So cell phone for sure, which is 316-670-6283. And then of course by email, again, I read hundreds of emails a day, right? I don't leave the office until the emails are done. I never leave until the emails are done. I like to start fresh. I like to start fresh the next day. I'm a bit of a workaholic though, so it's a problem.
Okay.
Not really, because I love what I do. I find it's fun.
It's fun. Absolutely.
Fun. Yes.
So if to our listeners, if you didn't have a chance to grab a pen and jot down that cell phone, we will put it in the show notes.
Perfect.
Along with Melissa's email address. So if you want to connect with Melissa after you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes. Yes. And all the information is going to be right there. And so you have been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders. And with my special guest, Melissa Palmer, who is the sales manager at LS Industries. And this has been a great interview. Melissa, would you put your hand over your heart and promise me you'll come back? We can do it again. Keep talking. Yes. Okay, she's got her hand over her heart.
Absolutely.
And so if you, to our listeners, if you found value in listening to today's podcast, then please think about one sales leader, one business owner, CEO, sales professional, somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, large bills.
Exactly.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.